Welcome to In the News, Conversations Around Security, a new and dynamic podcast where we dissect the day's headlines through the critical lens of security risk management and where awareness meets analysis. Join us on the 1st and 15th of each month as we bring you a fresh episode packed with informative debates, expert analysis, and thought-provoking insights offering a nuanced perspective on the stories that shape our world. So buckle up and join us for a look at what's in the news, conversations around security. Welcome to part 2 with our discussion about managing protests with retired Superintendent Bill Neadles of the Toronto Police Service. Again, please like or subscribe to our channel if you like what you hear, what you see. And without further ado, let's get back to part 2.
But that it's up to the chief and the deputies to make the strategic oversights that play right down to the street.
So they do.
I would just say my perception, not as a police officer, but as a citizen, because I think you were just too kind, Bill. There certainly is political interference, and not just at the mayor's level, but at the federal and provincial level. And
no one besides the chief will ever know that. But you can have that again. There's perceptions and there's reality. He's going to take advice. He's bright. He's smart enough to take advice. After that, what he does with that, he confers and then delivers that strategic oversight.
No, I thought you were going to give him a rebuttal there.
No.
That's the question, and then you went silent.
He doesn't have his coffee yet, so I don't want to.
I've had a couple. I've had a couple of coffees. I mean, yeah, you can. I mean, of course, people will make that interpretation. Of course, the media is going to put their spin on how the guy gave a coffee. That's a perception. Yeah. They're going to say the chief directed that or this guy directed. No. The public order unit is the most solid teamwork that you'll ever experience in policing. But at the same time, we don't control the minds and sounds of every officer on the ground.
Basically, from the sounds of it, then, and it makes sense, obviously, but for our listeners, the commander has the authority to do what needs to be done to ultimately, as long as it's in the name of public safety, even if it goes against what that political will up here, whatever it is. And I think of Ottawa, right? Like they didn't step in, and then all of a sudden things changed. They brought in a new chief, and all of a sudden things sort of, they did what had to be done, despite what the political.
Actually, I'm going to stir the shit here. Ottawa's a great example of what I would suggest of political interference, because the police didn't respond like they could, like many think they could have. Yeah. And I'm not blaming the police officers.
I'm going to say, maybe Chief Slowly maybe made a couple of errors in the early stages, but once they settled down there, I thought his destiny was settled. Do I really, from what I watched on TV there, do I think those police officers needed the Emergencies Act to do what they did? No, I agree. From what I saw, they had the people on the ground. There was nothing. And I know the incident commander who was in charge of the public order on the ground that day. He was my key partner in our Ontario Public Order Advisory Committee, and I know exactly what he was thinking. And from what I saw, he played it out the best way he can, moving his assets, moving people quietly, gently, using the only limited amount of force that was required. They got compliance.
It's not the police officers, it's not the police commanders, I believe, and you won't convince me otherwise, and Ottawa is a great example. It's the political interference, because if we would have allowed the police commanders and the tactical people and the people that understand the reality deal with the situation, it wouldn't have come to what it came to. So I don't say for a second that our Toronto chief or any chief is in anyone's pockets, but there's incredible pressure that comes to bear, and that's
100% pressure every which way, every day of the week.
Yeah.
So that brings us to our fourth question that actually Mr. Claman wanted to ask, so I'll clear that up, because I know this might be difficult for you to answer, but in respect to the current protest, and we've seen them go, we talked about it at the start where it was basically hands off, or appeared to be hands off. They were allowed to do whatever they wanted. Again, this is all press driven, but it's the public perception was that the Palestinians were able to say what they wanted to do what they wanted to do. They were stopping traffic. They were making threats. They were vandalizing businesses, shooting up some synagogues. So some serious stuff was going on, and it appeared to the public like we're
Protesting
taking the
in
hands off.
malls, et cetera, right?
Exactly. And we were letting them do it. Now, in recent weeks, the police have certainly changed their tactics. They're starting to arrest people and enforce the law and people, again, in people's opinions. Would you have done anything different, Bill, given your experience and how those types of things fall out? Do you think something could have been done better?
There are some, and I haven't seen them all. I haven't, obviously, I only see what I see mostly on the news and clippets of things here and there. But there was a couple of strategic things that I shook my head. I went, "Oh my God, no, don't do that." But I'm not gonna relay them here because those are, I think, tactical ones that I don't want to give to the public because that might be used against them on the ground. I sure don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But there are some things in the initial stages as things unfold and the dynamics of a group. Let me go back to the Kosovo ones. I mean, the first 2 days, emotions are running high, and I'll equate them to this one as well. The emotions are running really, really high, and it puts the police in a really precarious position of how hot are the people now? And it's calmed down a little bit, it's cooled out a little bit, but it's still emotions are running high on both sides, and that's not unusual. So how do you deal with that, right? You have to speak to them, work with them, try and find the leaders of the groups, try and get some production in there that you can say, we're working on trying to de-escalate the emotions. And if you can't de-escalate the emotions, Brian, that's where you go back to what's a riot squad, right? They are ready to go. They're at full tilt, on alert that things could go sour quickly in the initial stages. And what I saw from it was they handled it very well, right? You're getting yelled at, you're getting screamed at, you're getting spit at, you're getting called all kinds of names. And quite frankly, they're hearing them. And do they like it? No. But are they reacting to it? Oh, no, better not. Because once you react to it, that's what they're trained to hear. They're trained to get called every name in the book. But the physical space, we try to create that physical space that we can get that without, any being in the realm of getting, let's say, spit at or hit at, or that's where we try to do that. I would have done a couple of tactical differences there, maybe at the beginning, but it's not that easy to change the pace. Now, when they're moving around the city, you really can't do much, right? I'm sure the strategy was let them go where they want to go. That's become the Toronto strategy. I remember back in the day, we would fight to keep Yonge Street clear. No protests on Yonge Street. We let one go, it's gone, right? And then you let them go, why can't we go? So it's now pretty much wide open. All right, and they like to start from the three main places: Toronto City Hall, the U.S. Consulate, and Queen's Park. And they like to make that round because it's pretty good round. And they'll stop at anyone. And now they've taken Yonge Dundas Square. And I'm not crazy about the new name, and I'm not going to call it that. So I'll say it's still Yonge Dundas Square until they rename it officially. And even then, I don't think whatever. But so they like those positions that they go around and quite frankly, when they're moving, it's pretty hard. The numbers are high. Again, how much damage are they doing on the streets there? We can't keep an eye on it all. We get to clean up the pieces, maybe look at video later and then try and identify it. What are the repercussions of doing something? What's the repercussions of going and getting that individual who you just saw throw a rock at over your head to the other side, and it hit somebody? Okay, I'll go get him or her. What does that create? That may create more trouble than that's worth. Though, unfortunately, you'd love to, we'd love to say we're going to go arrest that person. So now what the public order teams are trying to do is identify the individual through imaging. and then pass that imaging on back to other investigators who at some point in time may be able to find that individual. And that's what's been going on daily since. There's investigations ongoing constantly to try and arrest people on either side, any side, both sides that make criminal intent. So you've seen, a few of the arrests lately that have come out. That's strictly from the good investigative work they're trying to do in the background. And we did a lot of that in G20. And I'm sure there's an investigative team here that's working as diligently as some of them are in G20 to work on criminal investigations.
Well, I'm going to say though, again, with perception, I think it was initially a missed opportunity. At G20, it was clear that you couldn't arrest people at the time, but it was also clear the chief and the command made it very clear that we're coming for you. And they spent months and months, and they extradited people out of the States to bring them back to Canada. They made it clear. Toronto, this go around, was a little bit slow. They did it, but they didn't tell anyone the first few weeks, and that caused a lot of the angst, thinking, I'm going to put you 6 feet under. I understand that it was probably tactically not possible to go after that guy at the moment because it would have created a riot, and I get it. But we should have said, or if I was the police chief, that we will not accept this type of lawlessness and we will investigate to identify the person. That was a miss. I mean, hindsight is 2020. Even I make mistakes, believe it or not, and I think the chief admitted, and I have a lot of respect for him, that, you know what, maybe we didn't do things the way we needed to do it, but we're going to do them now. And I've got all the confidence in the world in the chief.
Yeah, and you know what? This is not a planned event, Brian. So it's catch up now, right?
I agree.
So those kinds of comments are catch up. Back in the day, I remember Chief Blair come when he was chief, come right out and said, "We're going to get you." Chief Demkew's done the same. Now, okay, a little bit later, and maybe not at the right time, for some groups, but it's being done, and we're doing both, and both sides are now on notice, and quite frankly, some arrests have taken place. Some good arrests.
Yeah.
That's a good place to, I think, tidy this up and end it. Because at the end of the day, we want to catch the bad guys. The only one comment I'm going to add, Bill, because you sort of reminded me, Yonge Street, G20, what happened there. I think the one thing that often gets overlooked in these conversations is the role of the private sector and how they can help you guys do your job better. The police.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely, Luch. I mean, look at just going back to G20, and I'm sure that some of that's underway now. Again, trying to catch up to the investigation as it goes. But for G20, we worked with both, and that's where I met you two, yeah. You and the other guy there. But we used to have a lot of meetings with, as you were property managers back then. We used to have a lot of meetings to discuss this. And hey, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it again.
No, I'm not saying nothing.
Yeah, you sort of let him off. He's going to hit me about his windows, and that was a thing. But we had a lot of discussions, pro, con, up, down, around, and what should we do? What will the police do for you, and how can you help the police do their job better? And you were super, the TAPS organization as it was then, right? Working with the community and the police to try and make the best response for your people on the ground in the public sector, the private sector.
That's all I was going to add there, Bill, is like you said, the windows. Okay, we could talk about those windows, but at the end of the day, they knew it was coming, right? And if the business really wanted to protect the building, put up some plywood, right? Like help the police be able to do their job without having to worry about something else. That's all I'm saying. You go into a room that's full of glass, and now you're worried about the room because it's full of glass. But if we put plywood over that room, now you have to only worry about the people in the room, right? Like there's a role that I think private sector people, businesses often overlook, and that is the assumption that police are going to do everything for you. They're there to take care of the issue. Everything else around that issue is your baby. You need to take care of it.
Yeah, and even planning for that, I asked for more assets than that were available for me in the country. Right, I thought I needed more public order, and it turns out I did. but I found out the hard way on the Saturday when they came for the fence, and the pretty wide, pretty big fence line, and I had to take all the extra assets that I had, and put them on the street. And then once I did that, I just sat back in my chair and went, I'm done, because I've exploited all my assets. And that's when they turned on a dime, and they said, let's go get Mr. Claman's windows. And, they went through the financial district and did the damage that they did, and right up Yonge Street and through and right across, and out the, headquarters as well lost all their windows. So, it was, and by the time I could get any assets free to go chase them, because I didn't have enough, but anyway, so
to be clear, Mr. Claman's windows, I think that you and your colleagues did an incredible job, and the windows could be replaced. I think given what you guys did an incredible job.
And
again,
with that
perception, Chief Blair defended himself off for months after that, because the perception was a couple of people. Anyway,
you can't stop them all, man. It could have been a lot worse.
Just before you close, I just got to ask one quick question, maybe a quick answer.
You never have one quick question, Brian.
Given all that's happening in the world's getting to be a crazier place. What happens in the world happens in Toronto. We just finished a new budget where the police are concerned they don't have enough resources. We've talked a lot about it on this podcast. Do we have enough resources, in your opinion, Bill, to deal with the forget about the day-to-day policing, but these protests, the social disorder things that are present in the city and will come in the future?
Well, as Toronto gets more and more diverse, and as you start to see the influx and addition to immigration, what you get in the city as diverse as Toronto, and this is the seat I sat in as the public order commander, was you have to be aware of every group, every dynamic, every political persuasion. As the population in Toronto, when you tear it apart and say percentages wise, is probably the number one or number two population of whatever you want to ask. Whatever country you want to talk about is either the second or third. Either maybe a bit more in New York, a bit more here, but when you talk about population diversity, Toronto is the number one or two, whatever population, whatever country, whatever faction you want to talk about in the world. So as the world turns, Toronto hiccups. And we saw it, we've seen it from the Kosovo demonstrations at the U.S. consulate through the major Tamil disruptions in 2009. And now you're seeing a lot of it. It's coming up again, right? Between the two factions of the Israeli-Hamas conflict. And now what other ones are building up? So are any other, factions in the world going to get dynamic? So to say, and we won't even talk what Chief Demke is trying to throw is 22 minutes for a response for a frontline response car. Let's talk the support to what needs to be done for these so-called disruptions, political disruptions around the world. The public order unit is probably now, knowing what's going on, probably trying to get their breath. They probably don't have enough people, which means they probably can't keep those people trained and equipped. They don't have time to do any of that. So, the answer is probably no, Brian. I'm not going to say I know enough about what's going on. I just keep a little bit of a distance to it, but I'm going to say the ability for Toronto Police Service to maintain this level of response to major events such as this, I'm going to say they're probably behind the 8 ball, trying to play catch up. And with that budget, I can only see it getting worse before it gets better.
Okay, thanks, with that, let's close this podcast off. Before we do that, Bill, I know you've been busy. You're retired from policing, but you're not retired. You're keeping yourself busy with some emergency management training. I know you're big into IMS. What are you doing these days? If you can share with the audience, where can they find you? And,
so I still love these public order and security type, interventions. But yeah, I have I did kind of shift into emergency management. So I have my GTA Emergency Management Consulting Group, and then we've just launched a new emergency tips.ca. So assuming that's now putting emergency management plans and a learning management system online for companies to help themselves be prepared for emergencies. And as you retire, those who can't teach. And so I'm teaching emergency management at both Centennial College and George Brown. So I've got my hands full. Probably busier now than, no, I'm not busier now than I was. I could see the public order piece was kept me a lot busy on the streets and preparing and planning and doing the things in the back room that needed to be done. So yeah, I'm busy. And
Good.
you know, I try to keep up with Mr. Claman. It's not easy, and I know you're well engaged these days, Luch, too. So yeah, that's about what I'm up to these days.
That's great. It definitely doesn't sound like retirement. It sounds like just a
No,
number.
not anytime soon. I think I'm still
Well,
going,
listen,
still going strong.
I've got a student who can use your help. He's a bit of a problem child, but I'm sure you could help him out.
Oh, you know, I'm not going to mend. I'm not going there, Luch.
All right. Well, listen, thank you, Bill. We always appreciate you sharing your thoughts and his wisdom, insight. I know a lot of people don't like that term expertise, but you are an expert in your field. You've done it all. You've seen it all. And we've always respected you as a professional and your willingness to help others shed some light on some of the challenges in life. So with that, I'm going to sign off. I'll turn it over to you two to say goodbye, and that'll be it till next time, folks.
I won't say this again, but Bill is the consummate expert. He is the godfather of emergency management, and this is going to kill me to say I've learned a lot from him. So, Bill, thanks a lot for your support and friendship. And being on
Well,
the podcast.
you know what I always say, I'm here to learn still, and I've learned from you two as well. And you know, it's nice to be able to have that conversation. I know I'm still politically correct in a lot of portions, because I still believe that if I were to say too much,
Yeah.
public order officers or Toronto police officers might get hurt, and I just don't want.
Nobody wants that.
I will not go there. So I'm
Absolutely.
saying they've been doing a pretty good job, really good job dealing with this issue, and I wish them all the safety and health with their families to get the time they want and the rest they can, because it's not going to be slower tomorrow.
Yeah.
And thank you, sir, both of you.
All right, folks. We'll see you next time.
Bye now.
Bye now.